Good morning, everyone. Today's driving question is, how is the body coordinated? I would like to remind you about the expectations that you should have a date and driving question on the line. You should be writing your notes in your science exercise book or on a sheet of paper. And finally, please ensure that any form of distractions is put away so that you can get the best from this lesson. This is a remember slide and it assesses prior knowledge. The instructions is to use the words in the box to fill in the blank. So you've got all the words here in the box that's provided. You're going to read each statement and choose a word that corresponds best to that statement. At this moment, I'm going to ask you to pause the video. Welcome back. Question number 1. A protein that binds to oxygen and is transported around the body. This protein gives blood its red color, and that answer would be hemoglobin. Okay? Question number 2. The blood cell that transports oxygen around the body is the red blood cell. Just a reminder about the adaptations of the red blood cell. It has a large surface area to increase the amount of oxygen absorption. It's also the only cell in the body with no nucleus. It also has a biconcave shape. It is also small and flexible. This feature allows the red blood cell to fit through capillaries and other blood vessels. Question number 3. The blood cell that is involved in the process of phagocytosis, that will be phagocytes. Phagocytes are types of white blood cell that surround pathogen and engulf and destroy them. Question number 4, the blood cell that produces antibodies, that will be lymphocytes. So lymphocytes have receptors on the outermost surface and they detect foreign substances or pathogens, and they produce antibodies, which are proteins. These antibodies have specific shape to that pathogen. It clumps the pathogen together and kill and destroy them. Fragments involved in blood clotting, that would be the platelets. Just a reminder that there is 4 components or parts of blood. Those are your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your platelets, and your plasma. So those are the 4 parts of whole blood. Brilliant. Back to our driving question. How is the body coordinated? So today we'll be learning about the nervous system. Just a reminder that cells are the building blocks of life. Your body is made of trillions of cells. Group of cells working together creates tissues. Group of tissues working together creates organs. Group of organs working together creates organ systems. And group of organ systems working together performing the same or similar function is called an organism. So the next organ system that we will be looking at is the nervous system. Okay, we've looked at the respiratory system, we've looked at the digestive system, we've looked at the skeletal system, and now we are looking at the nervous system. So the function of the nervous system is to react to our surroundings, be alert, be aware, know what's going on, and to coordinate our behavior, so to control our activities, what we do. What you need to know is that there are 2 parts of the nervous system. The nervous system is made up of the central nervous system, which consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The second part of the nervous system is the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of sensory neurons and motor neurons. So in the next slide, we'll explore, well, what are neurons? So here, as you can see, you've learned about the brain and spinal cord in the skeletal presentation. And today, your new keywords are the sensory and motor neurons. So here we've got Different specialized cells. You've learned about differentiation in the past, that cells, when you're born at the embryonic stages, cells are undifferentiated, and as the organism grows, cells become specialized and are adapted to carry out a particular function. Here we've got a muscle cell. Here we've got your blood cells, sperm cell, skin cell, nerve cell. They are all specialized cells. They are adapted to carry out a particular job. They have a particular feature or characteristic that's going to allow them to carry out their function. So the nervous system consists of cells called neurons. And as you can see, neurons here, they have a long and extended shape. That is a feature. And the explanation to that description, long and extended shape, is that this feature allows the electrical impulses to be transmitted from one part of the body to another. If you notice here, at the end of the neurons, you also have dendrites. Those are found at the end to allow the nerve cell to communicate with other nerve cells. So when you see the word neurons, that means nerve cell. So the main cell involved in the nervous system are nerve cells, and nerve cells are also known as neurons. Brilliant. Let's look at sensory neurons. So this is the first type of neurons that we'll be looking at. So sensory neurons, as you can see the word here, senses that's involved. So the sensory neurons transmit electrical impulses from the sense organs. And as you can see, you have your sense organ here, which is your eyes, that deals with sight. Another sense organ is your skin, that deals with touch and feel. And your skin is the largest organ, in your body. You have another sense organ here, which is your tongue, that deals with your taste. You've got another sense organ, your nose, that deals with smell, and your ear, that deals with hearing. So sensory neurons are nerve cells that's going to transmit electrical impulses from the sense organs. Okay. You also have motor neurons. And as you can see here, you've got a muscle that is going to contract or relax, and the motor neurons deals with a muscle or gland. So today we're going to be focusing more on the muscle. In the upcoming lesson, we'll focus more on a gland, but on the gland. So these are known as effectors. So effectors can be a muscle or a gland, and effectors are going to bring about some form of response or movement. Okay, and as you can see here, you've got an image of the motor neuron, and at the end of this neuron, you've got a muscle. So motor deals with muscle or glands, and they bring about movements, and they are known as effectors. At this point, I am going to ask you to write the answers only in your exercise books or on a sheet of paper. You are going to read each statement. You do not need to rewrite the statement. You are only writing the answers which are true or false. So read the statement and state whether it is true or false in your exercise book or on a sheet of paper. At this moment, I'm going to ask you to pause the video. Brilliant. Number one, the nervous system helps us to react to our surroundings and coordinate our behaviors. True. Those are the two main functions of the nervous system. Question number two, the central nervous system is made up of sensory and neurons. That is false. We've mentioned before that they are two parts of the nervous system, which is made up of the central nervous system, which consists of the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of sensory and motor neurons. Question number three, cells of the nervous system are called white blood cells. That is false. We've also mentioned previously that the cells of the nervous system are known as nerve cells or neurons. White blood cells are involved in the immune system, and that was the previous lesson. Number 4, nerve cells have a long and extended shape to transmit electrical impulses from one part of the body to another. That is true. We've explained that nerve cells are specialized cells. Number 5, effectors are muscles only. That is false. Effectors can be a muscle or a gland, and that's going to help to bring about some form of response, movement. And lastly, number 6, the two types of neurons are sensory and motor neurons, and that is true. Beautiful. Reflex reactions. So reflex reactions are automatic. They are spontaneous. Reflex reactions do not involve the thinking part or the conscious part of the brain. So let's explore some examples of reflex reactions. So here you can see you've got the sclera, which is the tough white protective layer of the eye. You've got your lenses, which is the transparent part that light is going to enter, and you've got the black part here called your pupil. You also have an iris, which is the muscle behind the pupil that helps the pupil to um, dilate or constrict. So your pupil undergoes a reflex reaction. So, for example, if light is too bright or if light is too dim, your pupil is going to automatically constrict, or your pupil is going to automatically dilate. You've also got suspensory ligaments and ciliary muscles that help with the constriction and dilation of the pupil. Here you got a very cute baby. As you can see, majority of you have before put a finger there in the baby's hand, and the baby has an automatic, grip reaction to grab the finger. As you can see here, if you are going to touch something that is hot, you will automatically pull your hand away to protect yourself. And all of these are examples of reflex reactions. So let's explore the reflex arc pathways. The question is, what exactly happens during a reflex reaction? What are the sequence of events that happen? So, oops, just an example here, you've got the skin, which is an organ, and you have receptors in the skin. Receptors are cells that are going to detect a change in the environment. Okay, when we say change in environment, we can mean that it is too hot or it is too cold, or a change in environment, where you are about to fall over, a change in the environment where the light is too bright or the light is too dim. So receptors are found in all your sense organs, and those receptors detect stimulus. And stimulus here, this word stimulus, means a change in the environment. So let's just pretend that you are, you've touched something very hot while you are cooking. The receptors in your skin is going to detect a change in temperature. That is the stimulus. What's going to happen here is the electrical impulses is going to be transmitted via the sensory neuron, because the skin is a sense organ, okay? And the receptors in the skin detects, wait a minute, there is a increase in temperature, and electrical impulses will be transmitted from the skin via the sensory neuron, as we can see here in the purple color. Those electrical impulses will continue to travel via the sensory neurons all the way to the relay neuron. It's like if you were running a race. The electrical impulses are going to be transferred from the sensory neurons in the red color to the relay neuron in the spinal cord here in the green color. Okay? The relay neuron will transmit those electrical impulses to the motor neuron. As you can see here in the blue, this is the motor neuron, and the motor neuron will transmit those electrical impulses to the effector. We have mentioned in the past that effector can be a muscle or a gland. In this case, we're going to be focusing on a muscle. Okay, those electrical impulses will be transmitted via the motor neuron to the effector, and at this moment the effector is going to be a muscle to bring about a movement, and that's going to allow that individual to quickly pull away their hand from that hot object. What you notice here is that you also have a gap between the neurons, which is also known as a synapse. And this, at the synaptic cliff, most of the communication occur between two neurons. And in order for those electrical impulses to be transmitted from one neuron to another, it's going to do this via the help of a neurotransmitter, which are chemicals or molecules that's going to help the neuron to transmit those electrical impulses so that they can communicate with each other. So this explains the reflex arc pathway and the sequence of events that occur when there is a stimulus or a change in environment. It happens very, very quickly, and the nervous system deals with reflex actions, and it deals with the unconscious part of the brain. So it's automatic, it's spontaneous, it's fast. Okay? What I want to bring to your attention is that the reflex arc pathway will be the same, even if there is a change in temperature, you're touching something hot, or you are in an area where you have too much bright light, or the light is too dimmed, or if you stumped your toe, or any form of reflex reaction is going to be similar. So here they're showing the same example to someone that's touching an object that is hot. You've got receptors in the skin that's going to transmit those electrical impulses via the sensory neuron. As we know in the past, the sensory neuron transmit electrical impulses from the sense organ, and in this case, the sense organ is the skin. Those sensory neurons and electrical impulses are going to continue to be transmitted to the relay neuron in the spinal cord. So a message will go to the spinal cord. This sends a message to the brain, and the message from the brain goes back to the spinal cord. And the electrical impulses are now going to be transported from the relay neuron to the motor neuron, and it's going to bring about some form of movement from the effector, which will be a muscle in the arm. And that movement is going to allow the arm or the muscle in the arm to contract so that that individual can remove their arm from a hot object. Okay? Now, I am going to ask you to complete this activity, and the instruction is to write the sequence of events in the reflex arc pathway. I'm going to ask you to write the 6 steps down in the correct order. Okay, what happens first, what happens second? There are 6 steps of the reflex arc pathway. I'm going to ask you to write them down in the correct order in your exercise book or on your sheet of paper. At this point, you can pause the recording. Brilliant. Let's recheck our answers. So for number 1, you should have had that a stimulus is detected by receptors. Remember that a stimulus is the change in environment. That can be you're in an area where there's too bright light or dim light, where you've stumped your toe, where you've touched a hot object. All that's a change of environment where and the receptors are cells or organs that detect that change in the environment. Okay. Secondly, a signal is going to travel along the sensory neuron. So in this case, we're referring to the electrical impulses or signal is going to travel along the sensory neuron. The signal will pass from the sensory neuron to the realing neuron via the synaptic click. Okay. And number four, the signal is going to pass from the realing neuron to the motor neuron, and the signal is now going to reach a muscle or a gland, and the muscle will respond. Okay, so the muscle is also known as the effector. Brilliant. In this case, I'm going to remind you about the expectations before you complete your end of lesson quiz. It is important that you complete this quiz as it assesses your knowledge on the nervous system. I'm going to ask you to try to complete the quiz in the form of a retrieval practice from memory. However, if you feel that you cannot complete the quiz from memory, please, by all means, go back to my voice recording lesson and complete the questions where necessary. Don't forget to submit your work. And finally, remember that anything that's going to cause any form of distraction, whether it's a mobile phone or tablet or any other device that is not being used during the quiz, should be turned off and put away. This is now the end of this lesson. Thank you and stay safe.